Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. You got it? Okay. Cool. Thank you.
And welcome to the Board of Zoning and Appeals for Monroe County, our evening meeting of May the 1st, 2024. Before we get started, Director, I see Ms. Owens unverified. I'm not sure what that means.
She's waving. She's been promoted.
Oh,
That's her.
There she is. All right. All right. Seeing a quorum in person of board members, let's go ahead and get started with our roll call.
I will go ahead and call the roll. Pamela Davidson,
Here.
Guy Loftman,
Here.
Dee Owens,
Here.
Margaret Clements, Skip Daly.
Here.
Okay, so we have 4 members in attendance, 3 in person and a quorum.
Fantastic. Director, could you please introduce the evidence for us this evening?
Sure, I'd like to introduce the following items into the evidence. The Monroe County Comprehensive Land Use Plan as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Zoning Ordinance as adopted and amended, the Monroe County Subdivision Control Ordinance as adopted and amended, the Board of Zoning and Appeals Rules of Procedure as adopted and amended, and the cases advertised and scheduled for a hearing on tonight's agenda.
Move to approve the introduction of evidence.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll
Moved
call
and
the roll.
seconded. Please call roll.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, this time, can we please have our agenda introduced for approval?
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. I will note that 2 cases are listed as being continued on the advertised agenda that's also posted out in the hallway. That is the Lee Dadu Condition 53 variance from Chapter 802 and the Fincham variances, VAR 24-15A through 15C. That's the Dadu conditions and the front setback conditions. So if you're here for the Lee or Fincham variances, those have been continued to the next month.
Mr. Loftman, I assume your motion included the fact that those 2 items were stricken?
Correct.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the roll on the agenda as posted in the online packet and to the Board of Zoning Appeals members. Dee Owens,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-0.
All right, board members, is there anybody that has not had the opportunity to review the minutes for our March 6th, 2024 meeting?
I would like to move that we approve the minutes of the March 6th.
Actually, I'm asking if there is anybody that has not had the opportunity to read those. Hearing no one, are there any concerns or requested amendments for the meeting minutes for March the 6th, 2024?
Not me.
Hearing none, I so move that these meeting minutes are approved. Is there
Second.
anybody that has not had the opportunity to review the April 3rd meeting minutes for 2024? Hearing no one, is there anyone with concerns or requested amendments to the meeting minutes for April 3rd, 2024?
Not I.
Hearing none, those are also approved. All right, administrative business. Director Ellen, do you have anything?
Just to clarify for the March 6th and April 3rd, did you want to make a motion and in a second to approve those
They've
minutes?
been approved. There's nothing in the bylaws that requires a vote.
Okay, all right. I believe that we do have to make a motion and a second on the minutes, so we can continue those to the next meeting and make a motion in a second.
Pardon?
I believe we do have to make a motion to approve the minutes by a
They-
majority.
They've been approved. There was no objections.
Okay,
There's no requested amendments.
okay.
So is that acclamation then?
Pardon, Ms. Owens?
Would that be called acclamation? That should be approved. Mhm.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
All right, administrative business, I see none. Is that correct? All right, old business, I see none. Do we have any other requested discussions from board members?
I'm ready to move on.
All right, let's move on to our new business. This is variance 24-13, the Thackeray minimum lot size variance from chapter 804, page 5. And we have Mr. Smith. Could you please present your case?
Absolutely. So the request is a minimum lot size variance from chapter 804. The purpose is to construct a single-family residence on this 1.4 acre parcel. The property currently has a pre-existing pole barn structure that will be demolished to make room for the residence should this variance request be approved. Chapter 804 calls for a minimum lot size of 2.5 acres for the conservation residential zone. The petitioner has applied for a new residential building permit, and that is R-24-76, which requires the minimum lot size variance before proceeding. Should the variance be approved and the petitioner move ahead with the building permit, the owner will need to apply for a right-of-way activity permit as indicated by the Highway Department under that same permit. On the screen, we have the location and site conditions maps. And then we have some site photos. And the white structure being the pole barn that is to be demolished should this variance be approved. Here we have the owner consent letter to be represented, and then as well as the petitioner's letter, both of which are in the staff packet as well. And I'm happy to come back to these if the board members see fit. The petitioner did submit along with this, along with the residential building permit, a certified plot plan from Deckard Land Surveying. So as we see here, Deckard Land Surveying has the proposed house and attached garage on the site plan, as well as the existing barn that is to be removed. They have indicated that there is an existing septic system on the lot. And for purposes of building, this, as you can see, this would be about the only area that a structure could be constructed in order to meet all setbacks and comply with the rest of the design standards in the zoning ordinance. So this comes to our staff recommendation, which is to approve the minimum lot size variance based on the fact that practical difficulties have been demonstrated. Property cannot meet the minimum lot size requirement without a lot line shift or a rezone to a zone with a smaller lot size. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Once again, are there any questions from the Board of Staff on this presentation?
Not me.
All right, seeing none, at this time, we'd like to offer the petitioner or the petitioner's representative 15 minutes. Just make sure you sign in, please, and go ahead and state your name for us.
My name is Mike Carbon, attorney representing the petitioner.
You'll have 15 minutes, and that time is going.
All right. I will try to be a good bit quicker than that, but Mr. Thackeray, I couldn't see that he's online. He should be, but he may have had trouble getting in with other things. I don't know, but there's not much to add to the petition. That you've got the writing, you've got the staff presentation. The lots existed for a long period of time. The lot has configured exist before the CR zone came about. So it is what it is. Fortunately, it's flat enough to be able to set back a reasonable distance from the right of way and meet, setback front yard setback requirements and still without getting into the steeper slopes. So it's a reasonable use, and it'll be an upgrade and improvement to the property. If you've had a chance to look at the photographs or done a drive-by and you see what's there, it is an older structure and the lot could use an upgrade, and this house will do that. So that's the request.
Right, thank you. Are there any questions of the petitioner's representative from the board?
I just want to confirm that the lot size that you have is 1.4 acres.
Yes,
As contrasted with the 2.5 under the,
the CR zone, right?
okay, and that's the whole issue in a
Right.
nutshell, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
There's,
I'm sorry, I apologize. I was opening up questions from the board. There will be an opportunity here momentarily for members of the public to speak. Ms. Owens, I don't see your hand raised virtually, so we'll assume.
Thank you.
All right, we will now open this up for anybody in the audience that would wish to speak on behalf of the petitioner. Seeing no one, we will open this up to anybody online or connected through some kind of telephone or telegraph system. Please let us know that you would like to speak. I see a hand raised. Looks like Mr. Thackeray. If you could please allow Mr. Thackeray to speak now, because he is the petitioner. We will reset that at 13 and a half minutes.
I just
Please.
wanted to let you know I was here. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Thackeray, before you speak, I'm going to ask you to just state your name for the record and attest that what you testify to will be the truth.
Yeah, my name's Ross Thackeray, and I attest that this will be the truth.
Thank you. All right, 13 and a half minutes your way.
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm here if anybody had any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Thackeray from the board?
None from me, thanks.
All right. All right. Looks like we are good. Is there anybody else online or in the world of telephone interested in speaking on behalf? No? All right. Is there anybody in the audience that would wish to speak against the petitioner's motion here? At this, okay, well, at this point, we'll need you to be on the record. So you can approach the platform right there, the podium. And I'll just ask you to sign in. There should be a sheet there, and then just state your name for the record.
Okay. Jeannie Kellum.
And attest that your testimony will be the truth as you know it.
It will be as I know it.
Thank you.
Do you need an address or phone number on there?
I missed what
Do
you
you
said.
need an address or phone number on there?
I don't believe we need an address.
Okay.
I think just your name.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to understand the septic system issue. There's currently 3 lots there together that I believe are owned by the same property owner. And there's a septic system that's currently in use. Is that the septic system that is planned to be used for the additional building?
Does staff have the answer to that?
Mr. Thackeray has his hand up. He may.
Mr. Thackeray has his hand up. Would you like Mr. Thackeray to address this? All right, Mr. Thackeray, please retort this concern.
Sure. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
There's actually a septic that's for the house at 3415 Night Ridge Road, and there's a septic for this building at 3417 Night Ridge Road. So it does has its own septic on its own property.
Okay. That's good to know. Wasn't our understanding, but that's good to know.
Right?
That was it. I was mainly concerned about the Lake Monroe watershed and septic systems and that kind of thing.
Understood.
Okay.
We appreciate your time and your concerns. All right, and I believe it's been addressed, so we can move on to anybody online that might have any objections to this petition. That includes anybody that might have called in. I see no action, so let's go ahead and open this up to the board for any discussion and or motions.
I'm going to move that we accept variance 24-13, the Thackeray minimum lot size variance from chapter 804 due to practical difficulties. Right?
I'll second.
All right, I've heard a motion and a second. Director Jelen, could we take a roll call on that, please?
Yes, the motion is on VAR-24-13, the Thackeray minimum lot size variance to 804. There's been a motion to approve. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 4-0.
All right, thank you for your petition and good luck to you.
Yes.
All right, so let's see what we have here. As per the packet, we are going to skip over items number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as previously stated at the agenda approval. And that brings us to number 7 in your packets, if you're following along, variance 24-16, Hovis minimum lot size variance from chapter 804, page 15. Planning staff is ready to go.
Thank you.
Please.
Okay. So this is a variance request. Oh, sorry. This is a variance request for minimum lot size. The property is located at 9101 West State Road 46. It's in Bean Blossom Township, section 30. The property is unplatted and 1.07 acres. Just a quick pictometry photo of the site. So it has access off 46 from a private drive. It is developed with a residence and accessory structures. The property is zoned agricultural rural reserve. So on the screen is the petitioner's letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals. They're requesting a minimum lot size in order to develop, rebuild an existing porch on the front porch. So there used to be a concrete patio on the front porch, which they would like to rebuild and include a roofed overhang. So expanding the roof line is increasing the footprint, which does require compliance with all the design standards of chapter 804 of the zoning ordinance. So on the screen on the left side is their proposed site plan, and on the right are some building details. So they had submitted a building permit for this proposed expansion of the home for the porch. It was put on hold pending this variance. Because the agricultural rural reserve zone requires a minimum of 2.5 acres. So again, the site is 1.07. So on the screen is a detail of the roof expansion. During the planning staff site visit, we did discover that the petitioner had started work on the proposed raised patio without a building permit or an improvement location permit. So I'm just going to flip through a few photos from that site visit. So the work that was completed without a permit does include the new raised patio, but without the roof overhang. Any of this work should have had an approved building permit and improvement location permit. So just a few more photos of that work in the petition site. Okay, so on screen is something that we call a parcel size map. This is a spatial analysis of parcels in this area of other parcels that are also zoned Ag RR and are under 2.5 acres. This just helps us kind of understand if this is a unique situation or if there are other properties in the area that have this similar burden. There are 11 other parcels within a quarter-mile buffer that are zoned Ag RR and are under 2.5 acres. If the variance is denied, the petitioner will be required to remove the portion of the improvements installed without proper permits. If the variance is approved, the planning department can issue the improvement location permit that's required for completing the scope of work, which includes that roof extension over the constructed patio. So staff recommends approval of variance VAR 24-16. Does the board have any questions?
I'm going to start off with one quick question. The work that had been started without the proper permit, is that in any violation of current Monroe County Code? Other than it was started, is the actual, would the completed effort, had there been a permit, be in
If it
violation?
had been permitted, would that work? It's only the roof expansion that would have triggered that variance request. So it's right on the edge.
Thank you. Any other questions from board members of planning staff?
Oh, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, I just, it's often, it's concerning when people start things without a permit. Did they apply before they started it? Do you know?
They did. They applied for the building permit and then we put it on hold when we realized that it would trigger compliance. I do believe that this was just a misunderstanding by the applicant. They had thought that since it was just the roof that was triggering the variance, that's all they had to wait on. But I did remind them, I did speak with them during that site visit when I was there and, told them that any construction, even the raised patio would have triggered a building permit that meets Indiana State Code. So I did go ahead and alert the building department. I have not heard any great concerns from them. But Mr. Hovis, because it's already built, if there are issues with the building department, he will have to work with them to remedy it.
And to the best of your knowledge, did you ask him to stop work and he stopped work?
They were just finishing grade work, so.
They,
Yeah.
yeah, they finished the foundation of the pad, but, and then stopped.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'd like to offer the opportunity for the petitioner to step forward and speak for 15 minutes. Is the petitioner or their representative available? Or perhaps, oh, I see an attendee that looks like that might be Mr. or Mrs. Hovis. Could you please unmute Mr. Hovis from the Zoom meeting? Mr. Hovis, can you hear us? Or Ms. Hovis?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. Could you please go ahead and state your name for the record, please?
Yes, it's Douglas Ray Hovius.
All right, Mr. Hovius. We are going to offer you 15 minutes to speak on behalf of your petition as soon as you attest that the testimony that you will provide is the truth as you know it.
I attest that it is the truth as I know it.
All right, 15 minutes on the clock.
Okay, first, let me apologize. It was a misunderstanding. I had received a letter that we was zoned agricultural rural reserve, and it said that the structure or parcels can be maintained and repaired indefinitely until change is proposed. I understood that the roof was what was triggering it. So it was my understanding that I could go ahead and replace the existing porch. The block in the porch was crumbled. The steps were cracked. And recently, my father-in-law moved in with us. He's 87-year-old. I was just trying to make it more compliant for him to get in and out of the house. So like I said, I do apologize for that. If I had known differently, I would not have done anything. I guess that's really about all I have to say. Once again, I apologize. It was definitely a misunderstanding on my part.
Well, thank you for that clarification, sir. It certainly comforts me that you viewed it as repairing an existing structure, and it seems that's not totally unreasonable. And now we're moving on to the addition of the roof, and you've helped me understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hovius, you have some time remaining if you wish to say anything else, or else we can move on to public comment.
No, I don't believe I do. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your words. Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Seeing no one, is there anybody online or on the phone that wishes to make themselves present to speak on behalf of the petitioner? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak against the petition? Seeing no one, anybody online or on the phone that wishes to speak against the petition? Seeing no one at this time, I will open this up to the board for any questions they might have of the petitioner or any follow-ups to Ms. Griselius or staff.
Nothing for me.
Thank you. No.
I have a question for staff. The roof that he is looking to erect, the reason it's an issue, is it because it abuts out or the height? Could you explain exactly what covering the existing patio is that's an issue?
Yeah, so the roof is an addition to the residential structure itself.
Yes.
So that does trigger under pre-existing non-conforming. It's essentially an addition. Now, if this was, say, a lower a deck patio that was under 32 inches, we wouldn't consider that an expansion of a structure. But the roof is on the primary dwelling. So does that help?
It sure does.
All right, are there any other questions from the board to staff or any discussion, including any motions that one would like to make clear? Ms. Owens, are you looking to speak? I can't hear you.
No, actually not, but I can make a motion if no one else have anything to say on variance 24-16, the Hovius minimum lot size variance. I would move to approve that, having met all three criteria for design standards variance.
Oh, I'll second that.
Subject to highway department reports, sorry.
Excuse me. I'll second that.
All right, Director Gillen, we seem to have a motion that has been seconded to approve variance 24-116. Could you please call the roll on that?
Yes, this is for the Hovius minimum lot size variance to chapter 804. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 4-0.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hovius and Ms. Hovius, for your petition. Good luck with the project.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Enjoy that porch and your father-in-law too.
We've already bought rockers for it, so he'll be happy.
They'll be happy.
All right, with that being approved, we can move on to item number 8 in your packet. Variance 24-17 Davis DADU well, I'm not sure what COND is abbreviation for. Condominium, I think. Is that what?
Condition.
Oh, sorry. Data condition. There we go. That makes absolute sense. Thank you, Mr. Myers. The number 55 shared driveway, of course, that's a variance from chapter 802. This is page 23. If you're following along, even if you're not following along, it's still page 23. Mr. Myers, you have the floor.
Thank you. So this property is located at 3727 West Wampler Road. It's in Bean Blossom Township, Section 1. The request is a design standards variance from Chapter 802, condition number 55, the shared driveway requirement for an accessory dwelling unit. And the purpose is to construct a detached accessory dwelling unit on the property without needing to share a driveway with the existing residence. The property is listed as Tract 1 of the Davis Minor Subdivision, where Wampler Road bisects the property through the middle and creating 2 separate areas, but all under one tract. The petitioner intends to construct a new 972 square foot detached accessory dwelling unit on the northern portion of this tract. And the petitioner has received a new septic permit from the Health Department dated March 11th, 2024, and has applied for a right-of-way activity permit with the Highway Department regarding the new driveway cut on the property. The petitioner originally expressed an interest in subdividing the property. However, Tract 1 of the Davis Minor Subdivision exhibits only 9.94 acres after right-of-way dedication, and therefore is ineligible for the sliding scale option. So they're proceeding with this option of a detached accessory dwelling unit on the northern portion of the property. Here we have the location map. So it is just along the county line in the northern portions of the county along Wampler Road. Here, the site conditions map on the bottom right-hand corner shows you the property in yellow, outlined in yellow, and you can see Wampler Road cut through the middle here and travel south. Here we have a draft site plan that staff assisted with. This is just a little bit more detail of the scope of the project, indicating the location of the new driveway in yellow, or excuse me, in white, the new structure in yellow. And then at the bottom of the screen, you can see the existing driveway for the existing residence in orange. Here we have some site photos. So on the top left photograph in the white paint that you see on the road there, that is the proposed driveway cut. And then the bottom right photograph is turning around from that same spot and looking back at the existing residence that's across the street. Some more photographs of the proposed driveway cut, as well as the proposed location of the structure. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can kind of see stakes already placed for the proposed location of the 972 square foot accessory dwelling unit. Some more photographs. These top left is looking back towards the existing residence. And then the bottom right photograph is farther up, walking north up Wampler Road and turning around and looking back at the petition site. You can't see the existing driveway or existing residence at this location. Here we have the letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals from the property owner stating that they are requesting a variance for the driveway and their desire to construct the detached accessory dwelling unit. Here we have the petitioner's submitted draft plot plan that shows the location, proposed location of the structure. Staff will work with the petitioner to provide additional measurements on this type of plot plan to meet all the standards if this were to be approved. And I included additionally the subdivision plat for this property, as well as a map that indicates the floodplain boundaries on the property. The proposed location of the structure will not be located in any of the floodplain districts.
So overall, this comes to staff's recommendation. With the terms of the ordinance, staff recommends denial of the design standards variance, stating that practical difficulties have not been met and that a shared driveway can be accommodated by locating the proposed detached accessory dwelling unit closer to the existing single-family residence. I will now take any questions.
Are there any questions from the board, Mr. Myers, or the planning staff?
I have one.
Ms. Owens, please.
Thank you. I think that they have property on two sides of the road, and I don't understand why we would want to tell them that they have to stay on the other side of the road. It doesn't make sense to me. It is a practical difficulty. It's called a road. And if you want to put something on a particular piece of property and you've already got your septic permit and so forth, why would we deny that?
Is that a direct question?
I don't know if that was rhetorical or if that was directed.
Yeah, it was a direct question. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
so perhaps I could rephrase and let me know if I do this justice, Ms. Owens. I believe the question is, the rationale for denial was a recommendation that the practical difficulties have not been met because it could have been moved closer to the home. But that's on the other side of the road, and assuming there's rationale from the petitioner to have it on the other side of the road, why is that not allowed under this code? Is that your question, Ms. Owens?
Good enough. Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah, so one of the things that staff requests as part of the variance application is a site plan. And if you review the petitioner's created site plan that was assisted with Drew's help, it doesn't show other features such as, the septic on the south side of the road or any other constraints. So we weren't able to determine whether that south side of the road absolutely had no room for a dadu on that side. And so they're requesting it for the north side of the road, but that's a finding that the petitioner needed to make for themselves in order to, I think, gain a recommendation of approval from the staff, and we didn't see that. So the ordinance statement is that we require all dadus to have a shared driveway. And one of the ways that they could have better proven that would have been to say there is absolutely no buildable area for a dadu on the south side. We must build on the north side. But I don't know that that was either illustrated in the plot plan or in other information submitted.
Got it. Thank you.
As a follow-up, Director, at this point, if the petitioner testified that that were the case, would that satisfy you, or would there need to be some kind of evidence that there's no buildable space for that, or would this need to go back? Is there a rationale for continuing this at this point, or just letting things unravel?
I think the information presented tonight at the hearing is part of the findings. And so if you were able to accept that information and it meets your criteria for recommending approval, you can do that.
Fair enough. All right. Are there any other questions, Mr. Myers or of staff?
I'm curious that this is 9.94 acres after deducting, was it easements? What is it had to be? What's the nominal size of the property before deduction?
The subdivision document, the plat indicates that the property is 10 acres, and then underneath it, it says 9.94 acres after right-of-way dedication.
After, I'm sorry.
Right-of-way dedication.
Okay, and the right-of-way dedication, how do we know that reduces it below 10 acres? I mean, do they still own that right of way, but they can't control it, or do they deed that? They probably still have a 10 acre. What I'm getting, and it doesn't make any difference, I guess, if we grant this, but if we don't grant this, it seems to me that he's got a deed with 10 acres. And if he has a deed with 10 acres, that gets rid of the problem. Is that right?
The petition before you is not about the acreage as it is the driveway's location. So they have normally enough acreage for this type of land use, the detached accessory dwelling unit. The the lot size limitation for that is 5 acres or minimum, excuse me. So it's more or less about the driveway's location and that standard that there must be a shared driveway between the existing structure
Okay,
and the accessory unit.
thank you. It seemed that we were being pretty strict if it over 6/100ths of an acre, but that's not the issue. And thanks for clarifying that for me.
So,
Well,
so the code states that the driveway has to be shared, although code might not have presumed that there's a road going through the
Yes.
property.
right.
So we'll have to hear from the petitioner. And that's a great transition. If there's no other questions from the board, is the petitioner or a representative of the petitioner available to step forward? Good evening. There's a standard process. If you don't mind, please go ahead and sign in. Make sure that that microphone is angled properly for you. State your name for the record. And then I will ask you,
My name's William Davis,
all right,
property
now,
owner.
Mr. Davis, do you attest that what you're about to state on the record is the truth as you know it?
Yes.
All right, your 15 minutes is
When I first started this, I went in to check about dividing the property, and they told me I had to have 10 acres, which I own almost 11 acres. They said I couldn't include the easements, which is a lot of road frontage. Plus, I have a creek that runs right through the center of it, so they have 25-foot easement on the creek in case they need to do any clearing on the creek because it runs under the county road. So that knocks me down to 9.9 acres. So I asked them if there's anything else I could do, and they told me about this small house, whatever you call it. And I went through all the steps they told me to do, and the reason why it has to be on that side of the road, there's no property on the other side of the road that it can fit. My house has a creek that goes all the way around it. If you look on the map, if they pull it back up, and then the creek goes under the road, there's a bridge. When they showed the driveway, that's where the culvert pipe is. So there's no building property on that side. I do own property directly across the road from that, but it only goes up the hillside about 30 feet. So that's unbuildable too. So there was no place at all to put this, to use the same driveway. So I went through all the hoops. They told me I first had to get this septic permit. I did it, spent the money for it. And with the septic guy and everything, I've got $1,000 in that already to get to where I'm at. And I think to me, it'd be very wrong to say that we can't do this, can't put it, and what's stopping me is the driveway. To put the driveway in there, when the superintendent, they came out and checked the driveway, said it's a safe place to put it, but they wouldn't give me the driveway permit till you guys approved to have the second driveway. And that's what we're here for. And I just don't understand why they would recommend not to do it, because I don't have a building permit on it. And they went out and took the pictures, and the map shows there's no building place on the other side. There's zero building place. There's no place to put a septic or nothing. my son, he just got out of school. He's wanting to live close to his parents to help us. I heat with a wood boiler and he cuts all my wood for me and helps me keep it going. And we're just trying to give him a place to stay close to us to help us out and everything. And like I say, if we had the property on the other side of the road, we would do that. And if it wasn't this thing about the easements, we'd give him 5 acres. I mean, which I own more than 10 acres. I just can't use all of it by the standards that's been set. And I understand those standards and stuff, but I'm just asking that you guys would please vote in favorable the road, the driveway bill be put in there so we can finish it, because everything else has pretty well been approved except the driveway part. And that's what you guys, I'm asking for is to, since there is no building site on the other side of the road that would match my driveway, please vote in favor. I've done everything they've asked me to do, and we spent way over $1,000 to get to this point. And if we get denied, then we just wasted a lot of money, and I got a septic permit I'll never be able to use. So, thank you.
Mr. Davis?
You have any questions for me?
I'm going to start off with a quick question. During your testimony, you mentioned the superintendent had told you that
The county highway superintendent called me, and because they had to come out and look about the driveway, and he said he was in favor for the driveway be there as long as you guys voted that I could have the second driveway, then he would recommend me to come where I could get the permit for the driveway.
All right, and one more thing, the premise for the planning department's challenge on your petition seems to me to be that the code specifies it should be a shared driveway, but you have not presented to them that there's no buildable land off of that. Could you please just share a little more about that topic?
Okay, where my house sits to the, I'm gonna say the south side of my house, my property line is probably.
Pardon me one moment. Could we bring that up on the screen while he was talking about it? Is there a shot of
I don't know if
the
you can
land?
blow the place, make it bigger where the orange is. That's my property. And that's where my house is, but right behind my house, about where the property line is, there's a creek that runs all the way around and then goes under the road. I guess here it is. Okay. There's a creek that runs all the way around here and under the road right there. So there's no place to build on here and put another septic. There's not enough room. That's my garage, and that creek's only about 20 feet behind it. So the only option I had was over there in this empty lot.
All right,
Empty field.
I appreciate that. That addresses my question.
I mean, there's nothing on this side to build a building.
All right, that's fair. Board members, are there any other questions of Mr. Davis at this time?
No, thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Wait, Mr. Day, wait,
Oh,
one quick question. As I'm looking at this on the other side of the road, it looks very wooded. Is that where the slope, where
yeah.
the,
Steep slope
I see.
that goes up, and after my brother-in-law owns this property back here. This wood line here, that's a creek that runs all the way through there.
Uh-huh.
I have a little bit of property here that is grass. That's not big, that put nothing on. That was the only spot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Davis at this time? Seeing none. Are there any comments from members of the public that are present in the room tonight? No one seems to be stepping forward. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on behalf of the petitioner online or on the phone? Seeing no action. Anyone that wishes to speak against the petition in the room? Please make yourself known. Seeing nothing, anyone online or on the phone, please make your presence known if you wish to speak. Seeing no one, we will open this up in one moment for questions or discussion of staff and a potential motion. I have one quick question of Mr. Myers. Is the proposed location for the driveway presenting a safety hazard? I heard Mr. Davis testify that he had the thumbs up, so to say, from the highway superintendent. Is that on record, or do you have any safety concerns?
So safety concerns for a driveway, that is the highway department's realm. And Mr. Davis has submitted a right-of-way activity permit for that new driveway cut, and it's being reviewed by the project manager at the highway department. I did not see any comments that seemed to me that the location needed to change from that.
Not to get ahead of myself, but should this get approved, would that be a condition that this obviously, or is that already part of the process that even if this were to be approved, it still has to be given the final green light from the highway department? So it would not need to be a condition?
It would not need to be a condition.
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Any other?
Yeah,
Mr. Lawfer?
let me be clear. I certainly think that Mr. Davis should be allowed to do what he wants to do. And I'm just concerned that we're forcing him to, that the regulations seem to be forcing him to do it in a way that makes me uncomfortable. And the discomfort is, and let me check with staff. This is a dadu, which means that it has to be occupied by a family member of the owner of the land across the street. Is that right?
For a dadu, the property owner must reside in one or the other. So a dadu does allow the opportunity to rent long-term use to an unrelated individual.
Okay, so you could have a primary residence or you could have a residence and a rental to a third party, but you couldn't just sell it independently as two properties that each would have their own owner. And it seems to me that that is limiting the financial value of this if it has to be a rental instead. And Lord knows with housing what it is in Monroe County. I hate to take an appropriate parcel of land out of the potential housing. And I know the lot size. If he was asking, I wanted to subdivide this, would that come to us?
No, that would go to the plan commission.
And would the plan commission be able to approve that if they chose to?
So the option for subdividing land in the county, there's two options for smaller sized subdivisions. There's the minor subdivision and there's the sliding scale subdivision. If you're operating on septic systems, the minor subdivision process, you need to have at least 20 acres to subdivide to create two lots that have a minimum of 10 acres. And that's in the subdivision control ordinance.
Okay.
There's also the sliding scale subdivision option that provides more flexibility to lots that have at least 10 acres or more. And you can create one lot that's as small as 2.5 acres, and the remaining acreage is called the parent parcel. And that goes into a 25-year subdivision moratorium to try and provide protections for over densification of the more rural landscape of the county. So because after right-of-way dedication, there is not enough acreage to allow for that option to be eligible, the property owner was not able to pursue the sliding scale subdivision in this case.
Well,
I
it's
also-
not before me, and this is what it, yes.
I also want to note, so Drew pulled up the plat as part of the packet. It's already part of a minor subdivision. This has already been subdivided
So it would be a
subsequently.
re-subdivision.
So it was a preliminary plat amendment to re-subdivide the lot into two. So that's where the issue arose. Is that in the time that they subdivided this originally, the comprehensive plan went through and there's a requirement now that requires sewer for larger lots with septic. And so it's not a question before the BZA, but I think that the question today before you is the shared driveway requirement for a detached accessory dwelling unit that would be across the street. If they were to receive approval, they would have to go through the building department to get proper permits, which is when we would verify that the driveway permit would get issued and we would do all of the checks in
Okay.
that regard. So
So if I get it, and I appreciate this explanation, if we, with Mr. Davis's consent, were to continue this so he could go for a subdivision, the chances of getting it aren't very good. It would be in pretty strict clear violation of the code because they wouldn't be big enough properties.
It's moot.
It's, yeah,
It's
Okay.
moot. And I'm not trying to cut you off here. I appreciate where you're going with this, but that's a phase that if he wishes to pursue, he has an avenue to do so. At this point, we're just trying to determine whether or not Mr. Davis is allowed to violate the shared driveway rule
Right.
because of the unique makeup of his parcel.
So let me ask one more staff question if I can then. If we grant this and 2 years down the road, 10 years down the road, somebody wants to subdivide these two properties, would this restrict their ability to do that in the future? Wouldn't make any difference. Okay, I'm comfortable now. Thank you for helping.
I'll be on
me
the record to say no. I shook my head, but no, it would not.
They could proceed, yeah. Okay,
The record reflects. All
well,
right, is there any other discussion that the board members would like to share and maybe even present a motion? Every time those bells ring, I think of Monty Python. All right.
I move that we approve variance 2417 Davis Dadu shared driveway variance from chapter 802 concerning 10.59 acre parcel at 3727 West Wampler Road.
A second.
And this is because it's practical difficulties make it impossible or very impractical to build the Dadu on his side of the road. And mostly we don't expect a road to run between these properties, and that's also a unique circumstance.
So, Mr. Laughlin, what I'm hearing is you are motioning to approve this based on the practical difficulties and the conditions set within the code being met. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second is achieved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR 24-17, which is the Davis detached accessory dwelling unit variance to condition number 55, which is specifically to the shared driveway requirement. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the variance. Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved 4-0.
Mr. Davis, thank you for your time. Good luck with your project. And if we don't mind, let's rock and roll into items 9 through 12. We're going to have those as a package presentation. Those are variances 24-19A, 19B, 19C, and 19D. Those will be presented once again by Mr. Smith. Thank you. If you will.
Yeah, so the request is a minimum lot size variance from chapter 804, minimum lot width variance from chapter 804, buildable area 15% slope from chapter 804, and eco area 3 from chapter 825. And the purpose is to construct a convenience storage facility at the site. The petitioner intends to demolish the existing abandoned structures and utilize the site for the construction of convenience storage units. The property is located in the environmental constraints overlay area, also known as Eco 3, and does not meet the design standards of the zone conservation residential. The CR zone requires 2.5 acres and a lot width of 200 feet. The property is 0.79 acres and 110 feet in width. Part of the proposed grading and construction of the site does encroach into the 18% slope, which triggers both the eco area 3 variance as well as the buildable area 15% slope variance. On March 7th, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved a use variance. Sorry, that is March 6th. And that was approved 3-0 with 1 abstention, with the condition that lighting be conditioned to be facing downward. So this is the follow-up application for variances after the use variance. Now the petitioner is coming before the board for the design standard variances. And then these are the site photos from the last petition. And I'll leave these up here for a moment because I know Pamela Davidson was not here at the last meeting. This is the petitioner's letter, which is also in the staff packet, and I can come back to this if the board sees fit. Before you, we have the petitioner's preliminary site plan. So this is, they've taken it to an engineer and this is what they have come up with. So this is, so the next couple of slides will be that site plan, that proposal that is triggering these variances.
I'm just gonna be over here so I can see more
Okay.
clearly.
And then here we have a slope exhibit that was created by staff. So we've got it color coded here. So the yellow outline represents the structures that are there currently that will be removed. And the blue area represents what is triggering the 15% and 18% slope variances. And then, yeah, that basically kind of paints the picture for you. So that blue area is the area of concern. So that is solely what this, what these 2 variances are here for. Everything outside of it is within 15% slope and is okay to proceed. It's just this specific area. And this leads me to the staff recommendations. So for the minimum lot size and minimum lot width variances from chapter 804, staff recommends approval, citing that practical difficulties have been demonstrated since the property can't meet minimum lot size and it also cannot meet minimum lot width without rezoning or conducting a lot line shift, which would not work in this case because the surrounding lots are also small. And then for the buildable area, 15% slope from chapter 804 and the eco area 3 from chapter 825, staff recommends denial, stating that maximum land disturbance of not more than, or sorry, the site plan can be redesigned to meet those standards. So the maximum land disturbance of not more than 18% slope, they could potentially redesign the project and possibly remove those storage units from the proposal, and they would meet the requirements of the site plan approval. But in any case, if either the lot size or the lot width variances are denied, then the lot can't be developed at all. So that's just something to consider for the board. Does anybody have any questions?
I suspect we'll hear this in testimony, but the redesign would mean fewer storage units. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
Mhm.
Could we go back to the blue and the, now, that's very, very helpful. So I'm looking here at the, is this north?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's directionally north.
And the existing yellow, is that in the 15 or 18% slope area?
In the northern part of the lot, yes, not the southern.
Right. So this would be building some units, replacing a structure that's already there, that's already out of compliance with the slope.
That's correct.
But it's adding another section over here that is not in compliance. And is the slope, it's a little hard for me to read these lines on this. Is this the steeper area or the less steep area that's the blue but not the yellow?
So the yellow outlines the structure that's there currently. The
Yeah.
blue represents 18% slope.
And it looks from these lines like it gets a steeper slope here in the blue that's not in the yellow. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So for clarification, the slide that's on the screen now is showing two existing structures highlighted in yellow. No, yes, in yellow. And the one to the south is to remain or to be torn down and rebuilt by those two larger.
It'll
city-
also be removed. Both structures are
But the one-
dilapidated.
But the one to the south is not impacted by the slope designations. Is that
Correct. Only in the blue area.
Now, the blue area, so the blue area, we already have an existing structure which is in the 18-degree. They're looking to tear something down that is in the 18-degree and build something newer that encroaches a little bit deeper by a little bit, I don't know, 20 feet perhaps? What is that? I don't know what the scale is there. I can't.
So the scale is 1 inch equals 30 feet.
1 inch equals 30 feet.
But I don't know what an inch is.
All right. So 30-ish feet.
Rough,
penetrating-
I mean, roughly, yeah,
Okay,
roughly
so
around 30.
20 to 30 feet penetrating deeper into the violation of the 15-degree slope. All right. And that is the rationale for your recommendation for denial of 19C.
Yeah, correct. So the entire area exceeds 18, so it triggers both the eco area 3 as well as the buildable area 15% slope. So eco 3 is the 18% slope.
All right, and the rationale again for your recommendation of denial of 19 delta, what would that be?
That is the 18% slope. So there cannot be any disturbance, so that includes grading, not necessarily construction, but grading in 18% slope or greater.
Okay, so both 19 Charlie and 19 Delta are both related to the level of slope. So what's triggering 19 Delta as opposed to just all of that being encompassed by 19 Charlie?
Yeah, so it is a little difficult to see on the chart, but so everything within that blue area are proposed construction of new storage units.
Okay.
So not only will they need to grade the area in 18% slope, they will also.
Grading and then building.
Yes.
All right, so two process, okay. Fair enough. Are there any other questions from board members of staff at this time?
I'll also just mention that 19C is the countywide 15% slope regulation. We have been talking about the House Bill 1108 that passed, and I did want to put that on the record as Pamela Davidson did point out. That will be going into effect on July 1. That does impact some level of commercial buildings, though I think that we still need to clarify that and make sure that we're clear on the state statute. But the VAR 2419D as in Delta Eco 3 18% variance, that will not be changed by House Bill 1108 because that's protecting the watershed. So those are two different standards from two different chapters, and that's why they're both
So
impacted.
in essence, the new state law could allow for the regrading and surfacing, but not allow for the building.
So actually D is more restrictive than C. So the 18%, the exhibit that's up on the screen is showing the blue outline portion of the buildings that will be exceeding 18% slope. So they're 15% slope and 18% slope. So those areas are going to be restricted from any land disturbance under D as in Delta. 19C is in regards to structures being placed. So D is actually more restrictive in terms of what
Okay.
disturbance can occur, although it's less restrictive in terms of percent slope.
And what is the slope at the point of on the top, on the blue highlight, we have the same slide up on the screen for the record. At the southern or southeasternmost point, what is the,
Yeah,
Yeah.
when we were determining this, we had determined that it was roughly 20 to 21% slope.
20 to 21? Okay. All right.
So
Please, Mr. Laughlin.
I'm just looking at this. It looks like if we look at this building, there's the north half of these blue units and the south half. It looks like the south half is in a much steeper slope. It's in the 1820, and the north half is closer to the is not too far past 15. Is that surmise correct?
Yeah, so I'll just clarify, anything that's not in the blue box would be able to proceed without an 18% or 15% slope variance. So if you only approved A and B variances, which is the minimum lot size and minimum lot width, everything outside of that blue box could be constructed and meet the ordinance.
Yeah, and what the redesign I'm looking at, not that it's in front of me, is if they built the north half of that blue, it would be replacing an existing structure. I know it's not exactly grandfathered, but in terms of changing slopes, it's not going to make much difference. Whereas the south half is going to make a much bigger difference. So I guess that's the redesign question in my mind. And it sounds like I've got it right. I would be much more comfortable with the north half where they're replacing an existing structure in a not too out of compliance area, but I'm not too comfortable with the south. So I think I'm now comfortable understanding the situation, and thank you for your patience.
Sure. And we
All
did
right.
not receive a proposed grading plan from the petitioner, so that may be a question that you ask of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a wonderful segue, Director. Thank you. At this point, can we please reintroduce our petitioner? It's been a couple of months.
Better weather.
We appreciate having you. For the record, could you please state your name as you sign yourself in?
Sure, it's Nicole Van Sant.
Ms. Van Zant, could you also attest that your testimony will be the truth as you know it?
Yes, it will.
All right, we've got 15 minutes on the clock. Ding.
Okay, so I'm going to fly over A and B because I feel like Sean hit that pretty well, that obviously the lot width and the lot size, those make it unusable. However, Sean, can you bring up picture number 7 for me? I think this is going to help tremendously for everybody to kind of understand that slope. It's a really good picture of that. Is that?
Let me just pull up the packet real fast.
It's this one right here. Can you get to that one individually? Sorry. Can you get to that one individually? Actually, it's not that one. It says photo 7 in the packet, but you're right. I don't think it's that one. However, while he's doing that, that will probably show you the slope really well of that back, which is kind of what's in question. There are 2 dilapidated buildings that we're going to take down. We have met with our engineer we tried to lay it with the actual land. Is what we were trying to do was to design the ones that would actually fit there the best. So in picture 7, this is the back of that building that it exists in the front. This is where you're getting that slope. That is where the slope has come from. So it's really a man-made slope versus slope of the earth, right? Just with it, we're not disturbing land. That's just kind of a cut right behind that back building. And so in order to do that, we have the front units, the convenience storage on the front, and then we would have a wall, and then the other units would be right there along the back. And that's kind of how we were maximizing that space, and that layout is by that steep cut there was to put the other storage units back up against that. With that, I mentioned a redesign. We did design this to fit the current land and its slope and kind of how it lays. But if we start taking things away, the convenience storage probably will not be a feasible economic venture, unfortunately. So I feel that the other ones are also kind of practical difficulties with the slope, just where they lay in the middle of the land for that. So you can see that there's the front part. Do you guys have the packets? You do have or you've seen the packets, so you kind of know. So the front part is already asphalt and I know some of you already heard all of this. So it's asphalt there in the front where that building is. That would be where the front top storage units were. And then as you go around the back, that's where you would have access to the ones on the back side and then the ones there in the back. I believe, do we have anybody else on? Is Mr. Potter on? So our engineer is also on the phone if you have any questions on that, since we didn't have a grading or anything of that nature. But I think that it probably just will play a role with how it's kind of situated right now, and it would allow it to almost flow naturally as the buildings kind of already are and with the actual line of everything. Trying to, again, as you guys know, trying to make that spot a little less of an eyesore and doing the buffer there. So that probably is all I've got.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
At this time, if you're completed with your presentation, I will open this up to any questions that the board may have for you.
Sure.
You said convenience store?
Convenience storage.
Oh, storage.
Yeah, so these are
Thank you.
storage, like little units, and I think, yeah, and I think Mr. Loftman had asked about the side, the storage units on the back side. On the lot, they're about 10 by 20, so they're a smaller size in the back of that slope, so.
My second question is, with the construction and the easements and so on, if the slope then were 20 to 21%, is there any way to ameliorate that with your design?
The slope?
Well, because didn't you say to us that with the construction and so on, the slope would actually be at 20 to 21%? Is there any way?
So
design to ameliorate that?
what in its current state with the structure on top of it, it's 20 to 21%.
Mr. Smith, could you please, while the question is pending, could you please try to find a picture of the existing north building so we can put in perspective where that 20 to perhaps 21% slope is in relation to what is currently there? So we could have that perspective.
Yeah, so this picture represents the area of concern. So it's directly behind what presumably used to be a house at one point. So directly behind that is where it drops, and that's where that 20 to 21% slope is.
Behind it, could you clarify that for me? In the, behind to the, to 11 o'clock of the structure or 1 o'clock of the structure?
So it's directly behind it. So this is a picture of the structure that's to the north. So not the southern structure, the northern structure. The slope is directly behind it. So that's what you see here.
All right.
Can
But
I?
I'm seeing the structure on an angle. I'm just trying to say when you're looking at that structure.
You're looking east in this photo.
Okay, thank you. All right.
That's the back of that particular structure. And I think this part of the packet, I can bring it over if it's easier. Do you want me to do that? Can I approach you?
Please, please approach.
So right here, and does that make me off the record or can you?
Oh, wait.
Just please pause.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just have her pause for a second. So point to where that,
This is the existing building. This is the front.
The
This-
yellow.
The yellow
Mhm.
that they've drawn in
right,
there.
I was looking for a picture of.
That right there.
Is around. that
Could you
corner.
bring that picture back up, please, Mr. Smith? Sorry for the
You're killing me,
confusion.
Sean. There you go.
Point to the picture
So this part right back along here
is,
is the part that is the slope right back along here.
Yes, you can see.
And that's why when I said it's,
Oh,
it's
okay.
man-made,
Yeah.
right? So when we take the property, when we're doing the convenience storage, it's going to be, this will be the front and then you'll drive around, which is already a drive. And then the
Okay,
smaller
so-
units would be right up to the back of that, the back
So-
of that.
okay, so.
And
for
then
the
your other
record-
units would be here. So we were trying to do with the layout.
Okay, for the record, the slope is in between an existing structure and 30-ish feet to a man-made asphalt road.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Correct. Yeah. And I would say these are 10 by 20 down here. So if that gives you any perspective
Okay.
on that drawing, if
All right.
that's helpful.
Ms. Davidson, that was to all clarify the question that you had,
Thank you.
why don't you take the floor again? So, and thank you, Mr. Van Zyl.
We should see if Dee has any questions.
I
So-
do not. That clarifies everything I thought about.
Well, you probably saw none of this, Ms. Owens. I apologize for that.
Yes.
Oh,
Sorry.
I got it. I got it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Ms. Lawton? This is just a mobile presentation tonight.
Well, because I can't bring up the packet on my computer,
I
I'm-
understand.
I have
I understand.
to get more steps in than I usually do.
Yeah, it's definitely-
Yeah, well, let me. um, So let me see picture 7 again. I'm going to be toggling between
Picture 7, hot item.
this one. Is that
No.
7? Okay, 7. Okay, let's not 7. That's cool.
That's picture 7.
Are you planning on building out on top of this steep slope?
Well,
Or are you planning on building up to it where there's an existing building?
correct. The back of the top units that are on that top higher lot, that will be the back of those. And then the back of the units that come around the back are going to be right behind that. So it's going to be a shared back wall.
Okay, will anything be built on top of this steep slope?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
and are you going to build a
extent.
retaining wall that's going to go up here and support this?
Well, that will be the back wall. And again, Kevin Potter is on the line, which is my engineer, but the way I understand it, that's going to be your back poured concrete wall for those units in the front and those units in the back. And then there'll be, again, Kevin may be able to answer this, but we are probably going to have a retaining wall around the corners. Yes.
Okay, it's,
You're gonna have a little bit of, as you come around here, there may be a need for a retaining wall from the top portion down. And same over there if that's needed. And again, if Kevin, I don't know when he can speak, but those are things he might be able to address to you.
okay,
for
let's see
you.
what he has to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Lawton, do you have anything else at this time?
No.
All right. Any other board members? Seeing nothing, I will.
I think Mr. Loftman wanted to hear from Kevin Potter. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we can, yes.
Okay.
I don't see a hand up, but I see Kevin Potter. Kevin Potter, would you make yourself present? All right. Mr. Potter, could you please state your name for the record and then attest
Is
that?
he muted by us?
Pardon?
It says he's muted.
Right. Well, when you unmute yourself, Mr. Potter, or get unmuted, could you please state your name for the record and attest that that which you are about to say is the truth as you know it?
My name is Kevin Potter, and what I am about to say is the truth as I know it.
Fantastic. Proceed. You will have, is this part of the same presentation? Are you guys? Okay. All right. As I see it, you still have 11:30 and 12 minutes and 10 seconds to proceed if you wish.
Well, I'd like to clarify a little bit more about how this sloped area will be in the proposed construction. The driveway between the units in the back will be at the same grade as the gravel driveway that's shown in photo 7. So there will be an internal retaining wall between the units on the north side that are closest to Night Ridge Road and the units behind. There'll be about a 6-foot high retaining wall that will allow us to eliminate the sloped area that's shown there on the left side of photo 7. So that the back units will be, as Nicole said, will be where the sloped area is, but that would be dug out, and flat floors for those units would be installed where that man-made slope is. And then there would be an internal 6-foot high concrete wall between the lower units and then the upper units that front on Night Ridge Road. And there would be a need for some short retaining walls at both ends of the building to make up for the grade differences.
Thank you. That certainly helps me.
Mr. Potter, may I ask a question? You said that slope is man-made.
Yes.
How do you know that? Or what's your basis?
Well, if you look at photo 7, this whole site has a general slope of about 10% from Night Ridge Road to the back. So before this road was put in, before the buildings were put in, it's my opinion that this was pretty much a uniform, approximately 10% slope. So to build this gravel driveway that you see in photo 7, they had to cut into the hill on the upper side to make it level so that you're not driving sideways on that 10% slope. They had to grade that out level, and then that created that steep bank between the left side of the gravel driveway and the back of the building that we see there and on the left side of photo 7.
Thanks so much.
All right. Ms. Van Zant, you have more time if you wish to present anything else. All right, fantastic. Let's ask one more time. Any questions from the board to either Mr. Potter or Ms. Van Zant? I do not see Ms. Owens' hand on the
None for me.
screen. All right. And I see nothing. Any other board discussion before we open this up to the public? All right, are there any members of the public present that wish to speak on behalf of the presentation? I see no one stepping to the floor.
You can hear.
Anyone? Pardon?
You may recognize the voice. Sorry.
And then is there anyone online that wishes to speak on behalf of the petition? Mr. Potter, I'm going to ask if you put your virtual hand down at this point. Is there anyone that wishes to speak against this petition in the room? Seeing no one, anyone online or on the phone? No one is making themselves clear at this point. Are there any other questions from staff, or toward the petitioners from the board?
No.
Any other discussion or potential motions from the board? And I will remind you that if you are wishing to make a motion either for or against, that you be conscientious to ensure that you are making a motion for all 4. And if you do not wish to make a particular motion for all 4, then please break those up as needed in your motion.
Well, I'm going to start with two at a time, if that's all right. Is that okay? I move that we approve variance 24-19A, the Van Sant minimum lot size variance from chapter 804. And also, my motion is that we approve variance 24-19B for the Van Sant minimum lot width variance from chapter 804. Due to meeting the standards.
Meeting design standards.
Meeting
Is that-
design standards, that's
All
what I
right,
meant to say.
There's a motion on board due to the meeting of the design standards set forth in Monroe County Code for variance 2419 alpha and variance 2419 Bravo. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve part of this variance petition, which is VAR 2419A and VAR 2419B, the minimum lot size and lot width variance to 804. A vote yes is a vote to approve 19A and 19B. Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 4-0.
All right, at this time, I will begin a discussion about 19 Charlie and 19 Delta. From the visual evidence that was presented, I don't see that the spirit of the code is applicable based on the slope being man-made and the current location of the road in relationship 20 plus feet from the existing building, which will be torn down. I do not see an environmental hazard that will likely come of it. It comes to me that the petitioner has done their due diligence and has a team that is conscientious of potential environmental challenges and will address that in good faith. That is my take. I would like to open that discussion up to other members of the board.
If that's a motion, I second.
It's not a motion, it's just a point of conversation because there was obviously some hesitancy on those two points from members of the board.
May I ask the staff, we just heard Mr. Potter talk about retaining walls and so on. That's really not our purview. That's part of the design and so on. So we don't have to make that a condition as well, do we?
Correct.
Well, it reminds me of I believe not long ago, we considered a church that had a similar situation where they were making another putting a new variation on an old man-made variation. As opposed to changing nature, they were changing something man had created. And while I'm usually very protective of slope, this is not a situation that is going to alter drainage to other natural areas in any negative way. So, to my surprise, I'm going to move.
To all of our surprise.
Yes.
I move that we approve variance 2419C and variance 2419D on the grounds that this is wasteland that is being improved for the good of the neighborhood and the good of the property owner, and without any detrimental effect on the environment, and that it meets the conditions of 812.6. It will not be injurious to public health. It will not affect negatively any adjacent property. And it's the least we can do to make this land useful.
I second that.
Director Jelen, does that motion satisfy the requirements for a motion here on those two variances? Is there any other language that needs to be added?
I don't think so if that's your motion and you believe it meets the standards.
All right, and Ms. Owens, I believe I heard you attempt to second that motion before I interrupted.
I did, and I still do.
All right, you have that on the record now.
Okay.
Director, we have a second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR 24-19C, which is the buildable area 15% slope to chapter 804, and VAR 24-19D, which is the variance for the Eco 3 variance to chapter 825. A vote in favor is a vote to approve both variance C and D. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Skip Daly.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved 4-0.
All right, thank you, and good luck to you on the project. Thanks for your presentation and for your conscientiousness toward the environment with this project. And
Mr. Potter's contribution too was very important.
yes, Mr. Potter, we, if you're still there and listening, thank you. All right, let's move on. We are at lucky number 13. Thanks for your patience. I can only assume Mr. Chitwood is in the sole remaining member of our audience at this point in time. And welcome back to the podium, Mr. Myers. The table is yours for variance 24-20.
Thank you. This is variance 24-20. It's the Chitwood use variance from chapter 804. It's one parcel, 3.95 acres in Benton Township, Benton South Township, excuse me, section 3. It's at 6374 North Shuffle Creek Road. All right, so the purpose or the request is a use variance, chapter 802, for an accessory dwelling unit in the estate residential zoning district. The property in question is zoned estate residential, and that particular zoning district does not allow for the use of an accessory dwelling unit. The purpose of the request is to replace a manufactured home on the property and classify it as a detached accessory dwelling unit. Currently, the property has 3 dwellings on it. The zoning ordinance only allows for 1 dwelling per legal lot of record. Through communications with the petitioner and planning staff, the petitioner has committed to removing one of the existing manufactured homes, but is seeking to replace one of the others because it is aging and it is in need of a new one with better conditions. And the purpose of that is to keep a family member on the property living close by. So in order to do that, they needed to submit for a use variance to allow a detached accessory dwelling unit in this zoning district. Additionally, the petition site is under 5 acres, so an additional design standards variance will be required if the use variance is approved. Here is the location map. It's on North Shuffle Creek Road. Lake Lemon starts there in the top, in the north portions of the map. And the current zoning map has this area as designated as a state residential with forest reserve to the north, the east, and portions of the west as well. Here we have the aerial pictometry of the property. I put stars next to each of the existing dwelling units on the property. So we have 1 single family residence and then 2 manufactured homes currently on the property. And then here are some additional aerial pictometry of the petition site. This is 2024 aerials. So here I have the letter from the petitioner to the Board of Zoning Appeals. as well as the consent letter on the right of the owner of the property. And it's stating their request to add the use, or to approve the use variance to allow a detached accessory dwelling unit in this zoning district, to allow for a second dwelling, that being a manufactured home that will be replaced with a new one. It will be less than 1,000 square feet. It'll measure 920 square feet. So there's no need for that additional design standards variance with the respect to the square footage requirements. And the owner of the property would be living there as well. Here we have the site plan that was submitted by the petitioner. So this is oriented with north as the top of the page. You can see the existing residence, some outbuildings, as well as the two existing manufactured homes. This site plan does not indicate which one will be completely removed. I do know that one of them would be replaced if this petition were to be approved. And during the petitioner's testimony, I believe that they would be able to point out which one is going to be removed entirely. I also included on the right side of the screen the list of permitted uses for the estate residential zoning district. We do have a letter of support. This came yesterday, and I believe this property owner or neighboring property owner might be on the call as well. And it is to express their approval of the request from the petitioner to allow a detached accessory dwelling unit. And I do have hard copies as well that I can hand out if you'd like. It's fairly short, so I'll just leave it on the screen for a moment. Okay. So again, this being a use variance, it's different than normal design standards variances review. Standards for use variance approval are found in chapter 812-5. And in order to approve a use variance, the board must find A through E. I will not read them all, but I did include them on this page. And that does bring me to staff's recommendation that the planning department recommends denial of the use variance to chapter 802 based on the findings of fact that there is no substantial evidence that the property cannot be utilized under the permitted use of a single family dwelling in the estate residential zoning district, and therefore does not meet criteria 812-5D, which reads, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. I will now take any questions.
I'm sure that's a mistake on the teleprompter. I'm sure you would be happy to take questions. Is that right?
Yes.
It had stated that you would not.
Oh, no, I am happy to take questions.
All right, at this time, would any members of the board like to discuss this with any questions of Mr. Myers or with any of the staff?
So
No.
my question is that right now there are two mobile homes on the property, and the petitioner is suggesting removing both because they aren't optimal tip-top shape and bringing in one instead that's under 1,000 square feet, that's much newer for mom to live in. Have I got that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board to staff or Mr. Myers specifically? I don't see anyone. So
None.
at this time, we would like to offer the opportunity to the petitioner to step forward and to offer 15 minutes of testimony.
Up to 15 minutes.
What?
Up to 15
Up
minutes.
to 15 minutes. Up to, whatever you think will convince us, I suppose. Could you please, while you're signing in, state your name for the record?
Jeff Chitwood.
Mr. Chitwood, I appreciate you being here. Will you please attest that what you're about to say is the truth as you know it?
It is the truth as I know it.
Well, fantastic. 15 minutes on the clock.
Uh,
You're up.
he said it well. Place for mom. She doesn't like the house. She tried an apartment, didn't work. My dad, her husband, passed 3 years ago. Too many memories at home, so she would like to stay there because she's experienced a year away. So this was our idea, to keep her on the property. We've had these for 50 years probably. Just get rid of them. Not really an eyesore because we take care of them, you know, mow, what have you, but remove those, put a brand new one in, small for her. Done. This is what I was hoping. So, yeah,
Of course, if mom agrees.
yeah. Oh, she did. She does.
She also has very nice handwriting.
Oh, thank you.
So I don't want to interrupt you. Do you
No
have more
questions?
Do you have more to say?
Nope.
I would like to ask a quick question, if I may. The planning staff has specifically mentioned Part D of the code that says the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. They said on the record here, it doesn't look as if there is an unnecessary hardship. That means an economic challenge, so to say, and I'm paraphrasing. Can you get into a little bit about the rationale of why this has to happen for us so we can better understand if there is or is
She's
not?
elderly and just thinking to keep her there financially for my sisters and myself.
Okay.
To keep her there.
But the existing structures, why couldn't,
They're old and she wants new.
so perhaps
Yeah,
to
I mean, she could,
to rehab one of those would maybe present an economic hardship?
yeah, that, I mean, we could, you know, she just seen the new ones and she's stuck on that. Just saying.
All right.
Yes, she could move in one of those, but that's not her lifestyle, I guess. It needs to be nice or I'm not staying there, kind of thing.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say it's more economical to have a new one as opposed to rehab something that's already existing and conforming?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was
Yeah.
hearing you correctly.
Yes.
One of the concerns we always have of variances is that it runs with the land. So mom's going to live there for a while. Do you have any future? It sounds like you've lived on that property for quite a while and probably going to stay. What's your future thoughts long into the future when mom doesn't need it?
Get rid of them. They've been there forever and just remove them from the property when she's no longer around.
Even the new one you're going to buy for her? Even that one?
Because we've considered, you know, if we had to, I mean, you got to think ahead.
Right.
She's soon be 80.
Right.
We may have to sell it, take care of mom,
Got it.
and we're okay with that.
Ms. Owens has a question?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it sounds to me like it's probably a service to the neighborhood to pull off a couple of older mobile homes and put up a newer one as the Dadu. And it does sound to me like there's a lot of investment in that, getting those pulled out of there, getting another one put in. This is not a willy-nilly kind of request. And it would be a hardship. I understand housing elderly, and you can't have them going up and down rickety stairs into old buildings and stuff. A new building makes sense to me. So it's just my commentary from what I've read and what I've heard.
All right, are there any other questions of the petitioner? Seeing none, we will open this up. You can go ahead and have a seat, Mr. Chitwood, and we will open this up to, well, any members present of the community, which there are none. And anyone online wishing to speak on behalf, please make yourself available. Seeing someone there, unverified Genost. Okay, that is the individual that presented the letter, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Myers?
Yeah.
All right, could you please allow, I can't see the name, but if you could please allow that member of the community to unmute. And when is it Mr. or Mrs. Genostak? Could you please, for the record, tell us your name?
Yes, it's Nicole Janistak. You
All
were
right.
very close. Good enough.
Well, thank you. And could you please, before your 3 minutes begin, could you please tell us that your testimony is the truth as you know it?
Yes, my testimony is the truth as I know it.
All right. You have up to 3 minutes. You do not have to use all of that, as I'm told. All right, go ahead.
Right. I just said that I would be here to support Jeff and Nancy Chitwood. We've been neighbors for, I don't know, probably close to 15 years. And I just want to say I'd be sad if she had to move away again because we missed her when she was gone. But anyway, we don't have any problems with them, with the property. And honestly, I can just testify that they've always kept up the property really, really, really well. And so that's all I really wanted to say is I hope you guys will approve this for them and so that they can all remain together as a family since they've all been out here for so long.
All
Thank
right.
you.
28 seconds. Fantastic. Appreciate your words and your timing. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on behalf of this online or on the phone? Seeing no one, is there anyone present that wishes to speak against this? Is there anyone online that wishes to speak against this or on the phone? Please make yourself known. All right, I will now open this up for any discussion amongst board members. If you have any questions of the petitioner or of staff, or just like to chit chat about the potential motion, it is your time to shine.
I'd like to make a motion to accept variance 24-20 for the Chitwood use variance from chapter 804. And as I looked here at the standards for use variance approval, gosh, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. We just heard that. The need arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved. That's proximity. It'll be a hardship if they don't get to move mom next to them, and it doesn't interfere with the comprehensive plan. And I see the need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded. All right. We have a motion and a second to approve this based on finding the standards in 812-5 are being met. Director Jelen, could you please get the motion on the record and go ahead and call roll?
Okay, these aren't necessarily conditions, but I do want to just state for the record, what this use variance would allow, since we're going from 3 homes to 2 homes, is that the petitioner has applied for a placement of a new manufactured home, and that would be considered the DADU requirement. But the 3rd home that's to be removed, we would also ask that have a demolition permit be completed at the same time. So we'll work with the applicant to make sure that at the end of the day, 2 homes are on the property and that they meet all the requirements now for the DADU with this use variance. I also believe they may be back in front of you in the future for any design standards that they're not able to meet for that DADU. So before we can release that permit, there's going to be other things such as the 5-acre requirement and things like that. So this vote tonight is for allowing the use in this zone for this property but it's not necessarily addressing the design standards. So I wanted to make that clear. So there's,
That is so helpful to understanding that. I really appreciate your clarifying all of that.
sure. So there's been a motion and a second to VAR 24-20, which is the Chitwood use variance to allow for the DADU, which is to chapter 802, I believe. There's been a motion and a second to approve. Vote in favor is to approve the use variance. Pamela Davidson.
Let me ask just one other question. You said there'd be a demolition permit for the destruction of one of the existing homes. Should it be both of the existing, since with the new one now there will be two, the primary and that? Or is it demolition of just one of those existing? I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, in layman's terms, yes, it could be two demolition permits to replace one of the two. Yes, with replacement. Yes,
Thank you very much. That's what I meant to ask and forgot.
yes. No.
Okay, yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Pamela Davidson, yes. Skip Daly,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
Yes.
Dee Owens.
Yes.
Okay, the use variance is approved, 4-0.
Thank you, Director Nellen, and thank you, Mr. Chitwood, for your presentation. Good luck with the project. I trust you heard from the director and are well aware that this is one stop along the way of many in order to see this through. All right. Have a good evening. Be safe. And
Before we adjourn,
I would like to open up the floor to Mr. Loftman. You're free to go.
I just,
Not that I have the authority to tell you that, but.
this is 2 months in a row. I haven't been able to access the packet while we're here. And I don't print that whole packet, but I do access it on one screen and watch the thing on another screen. And I don't know what stands in the way, but two of us couldn't get access this time, and last time we couldn't get access. If anything can be done to figure that out, I'll come in for a test run sometime when it's not a meeting, if that would be helpful, just to try to get it, because it's much more difficult for me if I can't see it on my screen, and so I don't have to run around and get more steps tonight.
Director Nolan, could it be put on someone's calendar to connect with the tech team for the building to find out and look into it before? Obviously, you need it for more than just our monthly meeting, but.
Yes, I will contact our technical services department. They technically work for county employees, but we can assist you as board members. One thing I might also suggest is that next month, maybe I'll come prepared with like a flash drive so that in the event you have a problem, I can transfer the packet onto your device without internet access.
Always
And I
thinking,
could-
Jackie,
That's
you're always
assuming
thinking.
I could actually
remember that.
download it as
Yeah,
well, but
okay.
I often don't think
Right.
to do that because I just always
Right.
have the
You
access.
could
It's
download
spoiled.
it, right?
The technology is spoiling sometimes.
Yes,
Um,
okay. I will make a note to the tech services department. Sorry about
Sure.
that.
Yeah, and I don't know any other formalities. Mr. Smith-Myers, thanks for your work. And is there anything else that staff needs to convey to the board?
I do not have any reports.
I move.
Move to
we
adjourn.
Adjourn?
All right, there's a motion for adjournment. I approve. Get out of here, be safe. Good night. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Hi, Dave. I just wanted to hear your voice. Hi, Dave.